Welcome everyone. My name is Alicia Kaiser and I'll be presenting my book entitled Journey Through the Soul. And so not only does my book represent my journey through the sun, but it also represents a recapitulation of my soul's journey throughout creation. I wrote it because in the journey of my researching my dreams, I realized that I had multi-dimensional life streams that were coming in and revealing a bigger view of myself and of the universe. So in over 38 years, I have been researching my dreams. Actually, at the point that I wrote this book, it was 38 years. It's been 7 or 8 more years since then. So I've turned into a spiritual scientist in a sense. And this book is a correlation of my dreams, my visions, telepathic guidance, coinciding events in my life that I didn't necessarily understand in the moment, but that became relevant as time went on. And through this journey, I've awakened to who I truly am, and that awakening is a continuing process. I am continually realizing more and more the essence of who and what I am. And I wrote this book as an encouragement for others to take this journey yourself. Because until I wrote this book, I had no idea what source, what the universe was communicating to me on a daily basis. And my journey, my spiritual studies, and my journey through life has shown me that the universe, that source, whatever you want to call God, is continually speaking to us in every moment. And all we have to do is just pay attention, just tune in. So my initial studies began after a drug overdose at the age of 19. And I'm a dreamer, and my first memories in life were of dreams. But because my reality wasn't supported in my home, and I was brought up in an abusive environment, my dreams shut off at a very young age. And it wasn't until the drug overdose or at times where I was very upset about something that my dreams would actually start coming through from memory. So when I went into counseling, realizing that I needed some help, my counselor encouraged me to start looking into my dreams more. And so every night I went to bed with the intention, I want to remember my dreams. And with that intention, my dreams started coming back very quickly, by the way. And I started dreaming 3 to 6 dreams a night. And at that point in my life, I was a secretary, so I knew shorthand. So I'd be laying in bed, writing in shorthand all these dreams. And I'd take them to my counselor, and we go through them and try and figure them out based on the work of Sigmund Freud, Carl Jung, free association. I also did body work at that time, Reiki therapy, and I was really in-depthly exploring my inner world. What was my makeup? Why was I trapped in my body? I felt like a prisoner in my own body. I had all this armor, you might say. I couldn't stand people to touch me. I didn't know how to love myself. I didn't know how to love others. I was just very enclosed within myself and wanting to get out of my prison and not really understanding the prison walls itself. So from there, I started regaining my sense of self, and my interest in dreams went into lucid dreaming. And through the works of Carlos Castaneda, I started exploring my dreams and experimenting with some of the techniques that he wrote about. I don't know, anyone in this room read Carlos Castaneda? Okay, one person. Well, Carlos met this old Indian man who was a sorcerer, and he taught him how to tap into his dream body, how to use intention to become more aware of your body, your reality. And so as I started reading those books and practicing some of the techniques that he was sharing, I had an out-of-body experience. And in that out-of-body experience, I realized that I was asleep in bed, and yet my consciousness was outside of my body, and I was having a whole experience outside of my body. And when the two realities merged, I couldn't get back into my body. And I was like in this vortex of spinning chaotic energy. I didn't know what was up. I didn't know what was down. And all I could do was, I managed to like come into enough connection with my body to shake my head. And as I was shaking my head, I woke up in my bed. And I felt such a sense of peace and calm, even though the experience was very frightening in many respects. And so I said, well, if I'm going to explore this world, I need a teacher. So the following year, I attracted a meeting with a white sorcerer. And because of my interests, I went into mystery school over the next 18 years, learning about the world of sorcery, but not from the perspective of Carlos Castaneda. I realized that Carlos and the old sorcerers of that day were working with energies that you might say were a dark or alien force. They worked in the lower astral realms. And in my out-of-body experience, when I attracted this being into my bedroom one night, I went out the top of my head, and I didn't allow this being to pull me into the astral world. So first off, that told me that I've had experience doing this before. I don't know how I had experience because I had no memory of it. And it also, over time, I realized that I didn't want to work with those beings. I wanted to work with the light. So my time with the sorcerer was spent in learning about the nature of spirit, about dream imposters. So those beings that were trying to pull me into the astral realms, I call them dream imposters. And I speak about that in my book, and how they enter your dreams, how you identify them in your dreams, and how to protect yourself from these energies in your dreams. I also learned about the divine feminine and the ego, mind control. And so my whole time basically with the sorcerer, I was raising exotic animals, learning about spirit through animals, and reclaiming my life, detaching myself from all these levels of mind control, from your family, religion, society, government. At every level, we are being controlled. And it's probably kind of clear, if you look at what's going on in the world, that there's a lot of deception being played out in the world. And so I spent 18 years kind of just disconnecting from all this stuff. And so this chapter of my book, called The Desert Initiations, represents the time in my life where I was spiritually disconnected from source. And I call it spiritual dryness because it was like a desert to me. I was searching. And so this particular image is actually in my book. But I didn't want to make the book unaffordable, so I didn't put them in color, but these are the color representations of the images in the book. And this is all based on dream symbology. So the sands represent the desert, the sands of time, the sands of change. The tree, the wilted tree represents a broken archetype, and in that part of my life it represented the Catholic Church, where the precepts of Jesus and his teachings were put in a box, and the true meaning of his words were, in my opinion, lost. And so I was moving past those obstacles in my life. There's a python snake right here that represents sexual initiations, having to deal with all the programming I had from the Catholic Church, feeling disconnected from my body, feeling ashamed of my body. Everything was a sin, that kind of stuff. So, and of course, this is me, and I'm wearing a green dress. And so, because of my life as an abused child, I had a lot of illness. I found early in life that to get attention or to feel loved, that being sick was a good way to do it. So I have had 40 years, I had a lifetime of illness and attracted a 40-year disease, which I recently healed. and so this is just representative of my cycle, and this is the white hat, which represents the teacher, and this is basically, I feel like I'm moved into my teacher role at this point in life, but this is me before I even know that I'm moving towards that. I've got my teacher hat on. I'm moving through the sands of change, and the lake represents the water or the emotional body, a time of healing. So I'm walking towards healing. I'm wanting to embrace the healing in my life. In the back of it, we've got the mountain, which represents the climb on the spiritual path to higher enlightenment, to overseeing, being able to have an oversight of your life. And then you see the storm clouds that are dissipating. So I've made it through the storm, the clouds are disappearing, and I'm moving on in life. So that part of the book kind of goes into that aspect of my life. Now this next scene is also a photograph in the book, and it's called the elephant walk because the elephant represents the will. And the dirt road is like the spiritual path. It's not a path that's that's taken by a lot of people. So it's not like a highway or freeway, but it's a dirt road. And I'm heading towards these stairs. And the stairs represent a rise in consciousness. So I'm having to make an effort approaching the stairs to raise my consciousness. And then in here, I have the fire of purification. And inside of it is the diamond, the Christ diamond. And to reach this Christ diamond, I have to be purified. And you notice that this fire is in like a cave, or it's a fire pit. So it's like I have to go through another doorway to get there. I have to go into the heart center, which is the cave of the heart. And the tree itself is symbolic of the tree of life. There's much that has been written about us being a tree. We have legs that root us into the earth. We have arms that raise up into the sky. And so we have a connection to earth and to heaven. And through the root system and through the heavens, we have a communication going on. And when we start communing with the soul, which speaks to the language of light, through our dreams, we can start being useful as a tree and being a more participating assistant for Mother Earth and for creation itself. So in this part of the book, this is basically my path with a sorcerer, and I just give you a little bit about concepts that I came to understand walking that path, and the benefits of that path, the things that did not serve me on that path. In the next scene, this is not in the book, but while I was working with the dreams with the sorcerer, I began to realize, as I studied the relationship between light and dark, that there's form within form. So an example of this is a picture of Mount Shasta. And one day I was driving down the road and I realized that I saw this as a buffalo. You can see the back of the buffalo, you see the head, the eye, the nose, the legs. And this is how nature communicates to me. I see form within form. And when I'm given messages, like this particular image had significant meaning for me at the time that it arrived in my life. So when we pay attention, the universe is speaking to us in this way. I mean, I can see a form looking at the rug. I can see a form looking through space. I'm aware of multidimensional realities that are happening simultaneously with our 3D reality that we normally operate in. And so, form within form, dream within dream. So I started realizing within my dreams that if I focus my attention on something in my dream, that I could go into that form and the whole dream would change. So, for example, I was looking at a photograph in my dream, and as I looked at the photograph, I went into the photograph, and now I'm in the dream in the photograph. So, why is that important in this room right now? Well, what's important about it is that we do the same thing. We're living a dream right now. We have a slower vibrating dream. It doesn't move as fast as our dream body, but we are all given co-creation powers. We are a divine replica of Source. We have all the qualities of Source. We have all the powers of Source. And so we have the ability to create our reality. And that, in fact, that's what we're doing every day. We create our own reality. And because we're connected as a species to humanity, we have a mass consciousness reality. So you can stay plugged into the mass consciousness reality, which is always trying to control us and manipulate us and keep us in a place of fear and constantly in survival mode. Or you can realize that you're having a dream within a dream, and you can start taking control of that dream by not plugging in to all the energetic elements in life that are constantly feeding off your energy. So I love this image because it's a perfect, this is a fractal image. And basically the universe is a fractal world. And I look at this as source. And then you got universe, galaxies, solar system, our bodies, you know, going all the way down to the microcosm. You know, it just keeps going down and down. And this for me is like moving into the DNA. This is when all the programming comes into your chemistry in your body. So, but it's really important to see that wherever we focus our attention, we're actually creating that reality. So when you have a pain in your body, there's usually the propensity to go, okay, what is that pain? And we want to identify it, we want to name it. And the minute we do that, we're creating that reality. So it's like if I go, oh, got a pain here and I think it's related to my tendon. No, I think I have tendonitis. Well, I just created tendonitis by saying that and by thinking that. Another way to approach it is, oh, isn't that interesting? What is my body trying to tell me? You know, my body's communicating to me and wanting to get my attention. So I'm going to go in and talk to that pain. That's another way to approach it. And then in that way, I'm not creating disease. I'm actually communicating with my body and setting up a line of communication to make change that will help all of us, help both of us. And in the process, when we heal ourselves, we're healing the planet because we're all one body. Okay, here we are. Well, after, so we go from form to form, dream to dream, and then there's no form. So what I realized as I started exploring these worlds, these dimensions, that once I started seeing beyond form itself. And when I would go into meditation and talk to God, I started seeing energetic grids or blueprints, very much like this. And this is called the Metatron Cube, and it is basically a makeup of all the elements in their sacred geometric form. So you have fire, earth, air, water, and ether. And all those are represented in that image right there in different geometric configurations. The way I look at it is if you're going to build a house, you put down your foundation, you put up your walls, you put up your roof, and then you put up all the other things, you know, you give shape to your house. Same thing with the body. You need your energetic blueprint, which then you put your bones, your skin, and the whole form around it. So underneath all of this is this. And I began to realize and see these energetic grids in my everyday reality. This is really the basis of all consciousness in life, starts with energy. And it starts with these grid patterns. All right, moving on. The sacred door. Okay, this is also a photograph in the book, and it represents my path with the masters. So at this point, I've left the sorcerer's party, and now I'm seeking higher spiritual instruction, and I start working with the ascended masters. And this is actually a dream that I had. This image right here. And in this dream, I'm inside of a mountain, and the mountain has a waterfall coming over it. And it's a multi-dimensional dream where images are superimposed one onto the other. And as I'm moving out of the mountain and coming into the water, I see that I'm naked and my hair is flowing down, covering my body. And there's this mandala coming out of my solar plexus. And it's getting bigger and bigger. It becomes a shield over my body. And then the mandala, which is, again, another blueprint, is being birthed into the earth. This image is, in a way, kind of what's happening to me, not only then, but now. I'm still birthing this blueprint, this energetic blueprint. The mountain with the waterfall come over it represents a sacred door in the Stone's language of light. And the waterfall represents grace. And when you dream of yourself naked in a dream, it means that you don't have any outward facade. You're not concealing anything. You're completely in your essence. You're being true and real to the world and to yourself. And then the mandala is, I'm actually giving birth to this energy, this form of energy, which is going to have its own body. And I'm going to talk about that later in the slides of what that body represents. But it's also acting as a shield of protection for me. So I'm being protected while I'm birthing this energy into the world. All right, so this next slide represents a dream that I had when I entered the Path of the Masters. And in my first meditation experience, Divine Mother visited me 3 consecutive days in a row. And she gave me a vision of the soul's birth out of her dark womb space, out into the web of life, which looked just like a spider's web in my vision, of these little light cords all attached, just like a spider web. And I saw that the soul was like this spark of energy, almost like the sphere of light that was kind of wound up, like just fibers of light energy wound around it. And that the soul is birthed out into the creation. And then when the soul starts waking up to who it is and what it starts moving back to source. And when it gets all the way back to full consciousness of what it is, then it's sent out into creation as points of light. So as those points of light, it now becomes a representative and a co-creator with Mother Sophia. I call Source Mother Sophia because I believe that God is a woman, that all life comes out of the female form. At least that's the blueprint in this universe. There's lots of universes, and that may be a different blueprint in another universe. So this slide represents my work. I've been working with the Masters for a while now, and I've been asked to help with a work that was needed in the world. And the man in the picture is my husband-to-be, and that's me. And so the divine marriage represents a blend of spirit and matter. It represents a blend of the soul and the spirit, the mind and the emotions. It represents a blend of the feminine and the masculine side of our nature. So this part of the book pretty much is me finding out this merging process through my marriage with my partner, where we're asked to do a greater work for God through partnership. Now on this next slide, my husband passed away unexpectedly in 2007, and I was left with the work that we were doing together, carry on by myself. And I was very attracted to sungazing, and I started to sungaze, safe practices of sungazing, by the way, because you don't want to hurt your eyes. And as I was sungazing, I began to realize the words of Jesus, "You can't go to the Father except through me," was an actually literal statement. Because when I was sungazing, I could see that in the center of our sun is a blue sphere. And I always see the Christ as a blue energy. And in the center of our sun was a blue sphere. And then surrounding it was a golden sphere, which is the sun, the golden light, and then surrounding that was this beautiful magenta color. And then these elliptical, almost like an atom, the elliptical arms moving around it like this. And as I continued to sungaze, I realized that a lot of my spiritual practices were solar initiations. I was experiencing those visual experiences through my inner work. I was actually already communing with the sun. I didn't realize it until I physically started communicating with the sun. And so through my work with the sun, I understood the premise of the Trinity and how it is such a basic blueprint within creation. And it's actually a doorway to Mother Sophia, and it holds the divine masculine and the divine feminine, and the point would be moving back to source as one. And when we come into oneness, we then expand into a diamond. And if anyone here is familiar with the Star of David or the six-pointed star, well, that image is representing the divine masculine and the divine feminine. And in the Star of David, those images are locked. But when we come back into oneness, those arms unlock and they move apart and they become the diamond of Christ consciousness. And that's when we become whole in our seeing, become whole in our consciousness. And I look at Christ as being the soul of Sophia, the soul of Source. And we are the one ascending body of the Christ. And our task in life is to embody the Christ, to wake up to the fact that we are part of this greater body. We are the Christ body. And we just need to start waking up to that. And the dreams are the soul's language from Mother that is continually communicating to us every day through our dreams. All right. So about this point in my journey, I've recaptured a lot of past lives. Some of them have come through dreams. Some of them have come through actual life experiences that have sparked a memory of another now. Some of them happen through watching movies where I'm like, I live this life. I know it. There's the knowing that comes inside when you really hook into something that is part of your essence. And I also captured many lifetimes through mirror scrying. And mirror scrying the mirror is a fourth dimensional doorway. When you gaze into the mirror, so gazing, the act of gazing is not actually looking at something, you're looking into it. So when you lock your vision into an object like this book, you are solidifying your reality. You're creating that book. You're like, this is my reality. But if you look into space and allow your vision to relax, you're going to start noticing a lot more things. You're going to start noticing energy moving around. You're going to notice light. You're going to be more aware of movement around you. And you're going to start tuning in to multidimensional realities that are happening right now. And so the mirror is a good access point, because when you look into the mirror, your other nows, I'll call them, are within that field. So in the fourth and fifth dimension and above, all time is happening simultaneously. So there's no past or present. And so you can access these other pieces of yourself through the mirror, through mirror gazing. Right. So this next slide is in the book, and it represents my move to Mount Shasta during the August 8th, and 888, I moved to Mount Shasta, which is called the Lion's Gate. The Lion's Gate is a very profound time where the star Sirius aligns with our sun, and Sirius is a star that is sending out the Christ ray, because that star system is already ascended, you might say, to that height or place of consciousness. And so when we align with Sirius, we are actually receiving direct Christ rays through our sun. And so when I moved to Mount Shasta, a greater soul mission was revealed to me at that time, which I speak about in the book, and also rectification and healing of my ancient past. So I started recovering even more ancient lifetimes. And when I was with the sorcerer, I was given a dream once where I was shown 3 pieces of artwork that the sorcerer had painted. And in the dream, there was some Egyptian imagery given with it. And then they said, okay, you see the picture? I said, yeah, okay. So they took the images, and they were like puzzle pieces. They threw them up in the air. They said, okay, now reassemble the puzzle. So at this point in my life, I'm starting to reassemble 2 of the puzzles that I was missing. And now the big picture is starting to come in, and I'm like, oh, okay, I've been around for a long time. And I've done some good things and then some really bad things. And I don't want to, I'm going to take that back, good and bad, because there is no good and bad. We're all here serving the same consciousness, the same source. And whether we learn through the dark, which is basically, in its essence, the dark is the divine feminine, which is the womb space, the dark, where you go in and you go into your inner womb space to discover yourself, to birth your baby. I mean, the womb space is a sacred place. That's where Sophia births all of us, is out of the dark womb space. And then you have the light, which is, you could say it's the divine masculine. It's the first form that we take when we move out of the darkness, we move into light. It's like, you know, you've got a black hole, you've got a white hole. It's like the two opposites. And the task for us is to bring these two opposites into union, into balance, and become the one diamond. This part of my life was very exciting. New revelations, a new greater work was given to me at that time. And in this last slide, this is the last section of the book, Cosmic Goddess, I realize who I am. I am a being who helps create worlds. I help worlds in their ascension process. Mother Earth is in her ascension right now. She's actually birthing a new body. She's turning herself inside out. And we all have the opportunity to ascend with her, to turn ourselves inside out. And to ascend with her, though, we have to be at a certain frequency of energy. We have to get rid of all this programming. We have to bring our energy frequency in our bodies to another level. So scientifically, this has been proven that we are a carbon-based body. We have a carbon-based body. And the number 666 is the atomic number for carbon. It's not the devil. It's what we're made of. The earth, everything in our reality is based on carbon. And when we start raising our frequency, we start connecting to our divine genome where we have all our, let me just backtrack a little bit. When we're born, okay, as one body, creation cries out for what is needed in creation for its next step in evolution. And Mother Sophia hears that cry, and she answers the call and creates a soul. And so not only are you given a divine genome with all of her divine qualities embedded within your DNA, lately, by the way, you have to activate that DNA, but you're also given a unique sequence that correlates to the soul's cry for birth. So each one of us is here for a specific reason, specific purpose, and the task is to wake up to what that is. And the easiest way to find out what that is if you follow your passion in life. So whatever your passion in life is what you're here to do. So if you love singing, you love dancing, you love technical things, whatever it is that really, like makes you pop and once just get all excited, like for me, it's dreaming. That's what you're here to do. You're here to do something magnificent. You're here to co-create something with Mother Sophia. We're in the early stages of a golden age where we're going to transform the whole earth. We're going to transform our whole bodies. And whoever is not operating that frequency is not going to go with us. So if you want to go to the new earth, you want to fulfill your soul's purpose for being here, the time is now, because we're in the last stage of Mother Earth. She's in a birthing sack right now. And I don't know how long that birthing sack is going to last, because 9 months in our terms, I don't know what that represents in cosmic terms or in Mother Earth terms, but we're on the last leg. She's in labor right now. And I encourage everyone to, if you don't know what your soul purpose is or what makes you sing in life, I encourage you to really find out what that is right now, because time is, although there's no time, the time we have here on Earth is moving on, and Mother Earth is going to birth a new body. And I want to be there with her, and I'm speaking here today because I want to encourage everyone to utilize everything that Mother gives you to help you wake up to what that is. And dreams are one of the key ways that you are spoken to every single day. You are given a dream every night, more than one dream. Your soul is continually speaking to you and giving you messages about everything. So I'm going to go on to the next slide because I'm going to speak a little bit about that. The soul holds your mythological story. So I'm talking about all these lifetimes that are now coming into memory. The story itself is not important. Oh, poor little me, I was abused and I was sick and all of that. I chose to learn through suffering. In fact, this whole planet is chosen to learn through suffering. And what Mother Sophia wants us to know is that we don't have to do that anymore. We don't have to learn through suffering anymore. And we can choose another reality. We can choose to learn through love, through accepting that we are divine beings, that we are just as great as our creator, and that we have all her innate powers within us, and we can change the world, we can change ourselves. All we got to do is just drop out of the programming, stop feeding the program, and really take the time to go in, because the universe is true. The universe lies within each one of us. We are the universe. We are a microcosm, you might say, of the universe. And if you want to start finding out who you are, you need to start communicating with your body. And meditation is, frankly, the thing that has done it for me. But you know, you can do it through dance, you can do it through anything. Anything is a form of meditation if you are concentrated in it, you're passionate about it. That's a form of meditation. So, you know, whatever it is, it doesn't have to be sitting still. Meditation can be an active meditation. So basically, it holds the symbolic mystery within your individual lineage, you might say. And the story itself is not important, but the correlations of the different lifetimes that you're recovering will show you so much more about yourself that you never even realized was possible. Okay, so I've already really spoken about this. Your dreams are is a vehicle of communion from source to you, and the soul uses the moon, the planets, the sun, the galaxies, the whole universe is moving in cyclic rhythms, and those rhythms are used by the soul to communicate to you. So your physical body, your emotional body, your mental, spiritual bodies are all being instructed by your soul at night. So dream codes. I've talked about this a little bit earlier. Basically, all these symbols are images. When we dream, we're being given messages in images. And picture paints 1,000 words, right? It's much more powerful and quicker form of communication to give you an image, which is why I like to work with PowerPoint, because I can say much more through an image and speak to you on your subconscious level than I can say in an hour. So each dream has a code within it. And if you break open the code, you can receive the deeper meaning that is being given to you through your soul. So I'm going to just give you a little demonstration of how I open my codes. Okay, starting with the solar cycles. You can look at the solar cycles as being a cyclic energy of tending to your spiritual garden. So that's the picture of the garden. And Archangel Uriel overlies the time of summer. So we're in summer right now. And you probably will notice that there's just a lot of stuff coming up, a lot of exposure is happening right now in the political scene and all over the world. And that's because this is the time of death to the ego. This is the time when we're tilling our garden and we're pulling out the weeds and we're going, what is this? And do I really need this? You know, is this important to my life? No, I don't need this weed. And you just, you know, so you're clearing out your garden. You're taking out all the weeds. The weeds would be all the levels of mind control, the ego, all the distractions in your life. So that stuff is just being put in your face right now. It's just being thrown in your face. You know, there's like no getting away from it. And I don't know about you, but I'm experiencing that in my life right now. And so this is the place where all our former belief systems are brought into our face, and it's an opportunity to jump off the precipice into something new. You know, are we going to stay there? Are we going to clean out the garden? So then the next cycle is autumn, and that is overseen by Archangel Michael, and he represents the gate of the law. So once you start clearing out the garden, it's like, okay, well, now the universal principles start coming into operation. Well, what are we going to do to rectify this situation? If I haven't been truthful to myself or truthful to others, I might have an experience where I'm exposed outside of my own personal home life. I might be exposed, let's say. For Trump, he's being exposed all over the place right now. I like using Trump because he's such an easy example to use, an easy target, right? So we're basically taking on the burdens of our past unknowing in the gate of the law, and we're getting an opportunity to rectify what is now that we're becoming aware, we can make rectification, right? And then in the next cycle, we have Archangel Gabriel, which represents the gate of enlightenment. So at this point, we've tilled our garden and we've got all the rows sown, nice rows of earth stacked, and now we're going to go plant our seeds, right? And the seed has to go into that dark space, that dark womb space. So gate of enlightenment is winter. So now it's a time for introspection, the quiet time. We go within, we start really looking at all the stuff that we've uncovered, that we pulled out of our garden. And it's like, well, how can I make my garden better? What kind of plants do I want to plant this year so that I have a harvest that's really going to benefit me this following year? And so we plant that seed in the dark space where it can now gestate. And the energy is like you take coal, it says we're carbon, right? You take coal and you compress it, it becomes the diamond, right? So we're compressing that seed, we're compressing it, and then we're gonna blossom in spring. And so Archangel Raphael is overseer of spring. It represents the birth of the Christ mind within us. So now we have an opportunity to birth something new in the world, something that is of part of the whole body of Sophia, as the one ascending body of Christ. And so we start the cycle all over again. So this is what the solar cycles represent. And if you're looking at your dreams, you can go, okay, well, I know that I'm working on ego stuff right now, so a lot of my dreams are going to be focused on the solar level, on the ego. And then the next level of marking and tracing happens through the planetary influences. So Saturn is the teacher, and it represents teachings on the physical plane. It will be connected to your root chakra, and it opens archival and akashic records of the ancestral and karmic memory. And the moon, which is your sacral place, this is your emotional body. It brings initiations into prototypal emotional personality. So prototypal would be like Aries, Taurus, Gemini. That's what would be your prototype. So each of us is born under a certain prototype, and we are getting our primary lessons. Let's say we're Capricorn and our governing planet is Saturn, most of our life lessons are going to be on the physical plane from the teacher Saturn. If we're born under the lunar influence, we're going to have a life that is very much related to emotional things. But on the soul level, not only is that happening in our birth influences, but also the moon, we're affected by the planetary movements. And so when we're aligned with Saturn, or when the planets are lined up in certain configurations, they have more influence on us. So this is an example of how that influence occurs in our dream body. All right. And then lastly, we have the lunar influences. And so when the moon is in conjunction with Aries, the dreams you're going to be receiving are going to be talking about your ego. When the moon's in Taurus, it's going to reflect your record of stewardship. It could be stewardship of your body. It could be stewardship of your home. It could be stewardship of your money, whatever. Any level of stewardship. That's what Taurus brings when the moon is in Taurus. Gemini reflects one's mental attitudes and thought forms. So I'm not going to go through all of these. This information, by the way, is on my website, Cosmic Dream Living. I have a tool section on that website that has a lot of these charts that can help you pinpoint the influence of your dreams. I have links to lunar and zodiacal charts so that you can refer to where the placements of the planet and the moon is. I also have Virtual Dream Dictionary, which can help you with your symbology. But I encourage you, when you are working with your own symbols, that you align with it, with the message that is coming through. The spiritual dream picture that's on there was based on my work with Anne Nicole. And I found that as a teacher, there was a lot of similarities between us. So her interpretation of symbols really fit in with my makeup. And I'm assuming that if you're in this room today, that you probably have a similar makeup to me in terms of dream symbology. But I encourage everyone to go into your heart and really feel from source, what is this message? What does this symbol mean? And whenever we ask the question, the universe always responds to us. The universe, that's the way things are set up. We ask a question and then the universe starts responding. And all we have to do is pay attention. And you'll see that the universe is constantly speaking to you. I made reference to a work that I'm birthing. This is what is birthing through me now. It's called the Christ Codes, a living light language. And I'm giving information on the alphabet and numbers and music. And I'm seeing the energetic makeup of letters, their forms, what their actual forms represent, the energetic pattern and meaning of that form, and how it relates to our language. And so why is that important? Because we create through our thoughts and through our words. And if we really understand the power of language, the power of symbols, the power of each letter itself, and then create words out of that, sounds out of it that actually start working with these energetic patterns that I'm talking about, it's very, very, very powerful. It's like a way to create miracles on earth when you understand the language and you understand the power of yourself as a co-creator with source. So I'm going to spend the rest of this year birthing this work and getting a book started. And so I'm not going to be working with people, but please feel free to visit my websites and keep abreast of what's happening with me and what I'm going to be bringing in. I have a sign-up sheet over here for email lists for both websites. If you're interested in my book, it's available at Amazon.com. You can get the best price for it there. You got ebook for like $9.99. You got paperback for like $17.99 and hardback for I think $25.99. That's me in a nutshell. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. Do you have any questions?
The headline, Dragon-like language,
yes,
refers to the language that you're exploring.
Yes. Now this one may rock your boat, but I discovered through a dream that the Christ and the dragon are one and the same energy. So we have been given a line of BS about dragons being evil and all kinds of mythologies around them. But basically the dragon is one of the initial forms that was birthed out of Mother Sophia. Dragons actually are co-creators with Mother Sophia on like, here's Mother and here's the dragon. So worlds are birthed out of dragons. Dragons can be as big as a universe. And as the one ascending body of Christ, the dragon is Christ. So I saw that in a dream, and for years I've had relationship with the dragon, and my spiritual teachers, poo-pooed it and made it all negative and evil and dark, and I just didn't understand it. And at that time in my life, I believed everyone what they said to me, and so I got rid of all my artwork and my dragon artwork, and I just didn't know what to do with it. And then when I started getting the true information through my own knowing that the dragon is Christ energy, it just helped me put a lot of pieces together that I couldn't put together before. So this light language, for me, is the dragon light language. That's what the Christ is. Christ codes, dragon light language. Did you enjoy this?
Yes.
Oh, good. This was fun for me. I don't get to share this stuff very often and have an audience. I'm being asked to put my message out into the world, and people who need to hear it will hear it, and the people who can't hear it, God bless them, and hopefully they'll find a teacher that can communicate to them, because Sophia doesn't leave anyone out. If this is not the form of communication that works for you, there is one out there for you, and all you got to do is search for it. All you got to say is, I want to know who I am. I want to know why I'm here. What's my soul's purpose? The minute you ask that, the universe is automatically going to be answering your question. And I'm just giving you an opportunity to see how, because this is a blueprint for my life, but I feel like it's a blueprint for everyone's life. It's like the lessons that I'm going through in this book, I think everyone has to go through those. And so even though my story is different than your story, the basic premises that are outlined in this book are things that each one of us has to find out and inform ourselves about. So I hope that this will help you. I think if you read this book, that it will actually spark the memory, your particular memory, of how that applies to your life. My first out-of-body experience was at the age of 14, and I was smoking some hashish, and I went out of body, and no one believed me. I told my friends, they thought I was crazy. My second out-of-body experience was the dream I told you about. I was practicing gazing and stalking, which was these two techniques that the sorcerers do. Gazing is, it's really, you're looking through space. You're almost kind of like cross the eyes a little bit so that you're not focusing on any particular image. And it opens up your field of energy so that you're not locked in to a perspective. And when you unlock your perspective, then you start seeing energies. And so birds started flying at me when I was doing this and trying to land and communicate to me. And then real birds, because animals are tuned into these frequencies, right? And since I unlocked myself from the 3D reality and opened up my perspective to new realities, new potentials, and I was doing this energy work, and I was looking at this tree, and there was a whole pigeon community that lived in this tree. So they're getting all this energy from me every day. And so then one day this pigeon says, oh, she's a friend. And she starts flying towards me. I got scared, and it felt my energy get scared, and so it didn't land. But what it did is it opened up my flow so that when I started dreaming, I started attracting these other energies in my dream, because I'm like now opening myself to other possibilities and potentialities. And so that's when I had this, in the Carlos Castaneda books, they called this energy that came into my dream a scout or an alien source. And we really do have all kinds of energies that live in the universe. And as a prime example, there's a lot of energies that feed off of fear, and our government knows that, and so they keep us in a perpetual state of fear because they feed off this energy. There's beings that feed off of the energy of fear. And if you're in fear, then they can control you if you're in fear, because you're not thinking straight. You can be easily manipulated when you're in a state of fear. So anyway, because of these practices that I was doing, I actually attracted one of these beings into my dream, and they tried to pull me out through the bottom of my feet, my energetic body, my etheric body, out through the bottom of my feet and take me into the astral world. So I didn't know if that's what they were trying to do. I didn't even know what Carlos was doing in those days. I just knew it sounded fascinating to me because I'm an explorer. And so then when that happened, I know now I went off the top of my head, and I went exploring through my room. I think I'm in my physical body during this time. I go exploring through my house looking for this being that's breathing, because I heard it came in as breathing in the room. And I'm like, see your body down here? Yeah, I mean, the worlds that he was hanging out with are like beings that pass away. They don't realize that they've left their body, and they recreate these dream realities in the astral planes, and they just keep living their life out as if they're still here. And he was hanging out in those realms, and he was making buddies down there, and they were trained. No, this is Carlos Castaneda. He was working with the sorcerer, and sorcerers of sorcerers of antiquity would make relationships, an ally with a being of that nature, and they would trade energy. So those beings need your life force to have their world, and the sorcerers wanted power, so they would exchange. They had an exchange going on. The sorcerers wanted to shapeshift, they wanted to astral travel, so they made these contracts with these beings, and they would use each other. And when I attracted one of those beings, because I'm an ancient soul, I knew better, and I didn't go out that way. I went out the top of my head. And then somewhere, a couple hours into the experience, I realized that I was sleeping in bed and that I wasn't in my body. I'm in my astral body.
Did you have trouble getting back into your body? Maybe I noticed that you have a relative got out and didn't get back.
That was me. That was me. When I woke up to the fact that I was outside my body, it shocked me. And then I got caught in between the two worlds. I couldn't get back into my body, and I couldn't get out of the one I was in. And so it took me a while of being in this chaotic place where there was no up, there was no down. I was just spinning around, and it was almost like being in this vortex of energy. It was just all energy, and I was just swirling around. I didn't know which direction I was going in. And then I had the sense that I was shaking my head, and it was like I had the sense to move my body to get me back. And so I just kept shaking my head, and eventually I woke up in my body. So that's when I decided I need a teacher to take me into those realms. So when I got a teacher, my teacher didn't want to work with those beings. He worked with the light. So he taught me how to recognize those energies. He called them dream imposters, and he taught me how to identify them in my dream and how to get them out of my dream. And my next spiritual teacher taught me how to protect myself in my dream, so I didn't even have to do that. So my book is instructive in that sense, where we're all subjected to these energies. There's nothing to be afraid of. If you have knowledge, and that's power. And if you know what to do, and I give you some tools to work with on my website that'll help you with that as well. So, but that was my first experience, and now I'm able to go outside of my body and actually assist Mother Sophia Gaia in her birthing process. So I've actually been working since 2008, helping to build the foundation for the new Earth. I'm actually been building diamond grids with my husband and some other spiritual people, because you have to have to build a new Earth. You have to have the foundation, right? I spoke about the foundation. So I'm actually, well, we're actually birthing a new Earth, a new Earth. Well, we're going to be birthing. Mother's going to be turning herself inside out. So some of them are just going to move on and be sent to another 3D Earth reality, and those who have woken up enough and are holding up. Because I mean, when her vibration shifts, if you can't hold that vibration, you can't go with her. So unless you raise your vibration up to the point that you can go and ascend with her, you're not going to go with her. You won't go to the new Earth. Pardon? Well, I don't know what role Trump is playing right now, because we all have roles. We have roles that we play as light and dark. Trump is not an idiot, and I don't know what his soul contract is, and because I've been a Trump in another time. I've had a big role in creating a lot of programming. In fact, I had the biggest role, I think, of anyone. And it's not because I was evil, it's because I chose as a soul to play that role for creation, because it was needed in creation. And I stood up and said, I want to do that. So anyway, you're welcome. I hope my prayer was that each one of you would receive something valuable for yourself, and so I just hope that I achieve that.